I know the Right Honourable Member and myself have discussed this very matter in this very room quite recently, but I am again proud to be here to represent the people across Lichfield, Burntwood and, crucially, the villages and farming villages in my constituency in what is such an important debate. Grocery Code Adjudicator regulates supermarkets and another few businesses to ensure fairness in our food supply, but it simply doesn't go far enough down the supply chain. I almost said food chain there, but I'm avoiding the pun. It really does only regulate a small number of businesses, about a dozen. And while it does act to try and keep prices as low as reasonably possible and aims to ensure that profits from the food get shared fairly among the supply chain, it simply isn't reaching the most important layer of that supply chain, the producers, the farmers. Farming in almost all cases in the UK exists in a pretty weird part of the economy, but the most fundamental one too, the part of the economy we need to keep the country fed. But as important as this sector is, it doesn't always follow many of the patterns that we would expect the economics and the economy to do. The general rule of thumb in any free market economy is that someone who's taking greater risks should see a greater return. Because when it works well, you should see the value of that, but when it doesn't, it's on your shoulders in those difficult times. But that's not always how farming is working in the UK. Farmers across the country are very much at risk of flooding, disease, drought, and there are a huge number of potatoes grown in Lichfield constituency every year, and I know many a farmer who were really happy to see the heavens open a couple of weeks ago. Farming is a risky business. Factors well beyond your control can have a profound impact on the yield from a particular field, on the quality of what gets grown, or on 100 other factors that most people will never even think about. Usually, that would mean bumper profits when things goes well, to reflect the difficulties of it needing to rain at the right time, be sunny at the right time, to frost or not at the right time. But that's simply not how it's working in the UK at the minute. Most farms are simply not making enough money. Now, I really need to be clear here. I am not standing in Westminster Hall and saying that we've had it too good for too long. I am not arguing for higher food prices. We've just had one cost of living crisis, and I hope it's a very, very long time until we see another. But there is enough profit in our grocery system to make this work and make sure that everyone gets fair prices, everyone gets a fair day's pay, and everyone gets a fair day's return. I'm sure everybody in this room believes in a free market economy, as I do. And that's what a free market economy should deliver, that fairness for everybody taking part in it. But currently, the free market is failing in farming, it's failing in our food producers, it's failing our grocery system. And in that situation, it's quite right that legislators step in, and I think that's where it's important for the GCA to take a more active role in this space. It's important to farmers, especially dairy farmers on my patch, and I'm going to specifically highlight them as an area where we really do need to look much more closely. The dairy farmers I speak to will openly say that the very best contract they can reasonably expect to get for their milk is a cost of production contract, which all but guarantees there can never be any profit in their farming business. There will be some salaries included in the costs, but no line for profit. And you end up with this perverse situation that the customers for many of my farmers' produce, the milk that gets sold to a processor, that processor will demand to see their financials and then tell them what it costs them to produce milk. The absolute antithesis of how a free market should work. There can be no more perverse situation than that. It's really important for farmers in my constituency who deserve a market that works in their interest. It's important to retailers, large and small, who want to do the right thing by their customers. It's important to my constituents who work in those farming communities, but actually it's important to my constituents who live in the more settled, more urban areas of my constituency, because they are also very, very, very interested in making sure that people get a fair shot and that we have a fair economy. We really do need the GCA to stand up, take its role in making sure that we have a fair system for everyone.